Here's what's coming up on Contributing to a Safer Ohio.
And I thought it was definitely a tipping point for law enforcement. I mean, to see that type of collaboration.
I'm still reading things about the success of the convention, the safest convention that's ever been had.
The city of Cleveland played host to the 2016 Republican National Convention. But first, the Richesons are one of the many families affected by distracted driving.
It seemed like a bad choice from day one. You just can't. You have to be focused when you're driving.
These stories coming up on this episode of Contributing to a Safer Ohio. This fall, the Ohio Department of Public Safety is partnering with the Ohio State Highway Patrol on an education campaign about distracted driving. The story of Nathan Richeson shows why focusing on driving is so important.
Nathan was the best of the best. He knew what he wanted to do since he was 16. He got his pilot license when he was 16. So he started as the flight crew chief, and then he applied to be a pilot with the 121st, and he was the youngest to ever be accepted as a pilot. He graduated top in his class in flight school. You would have been very safe in any plane he flew. He would have made sure of it. Life can change in a heartbeat.
Labor Day weekend, Nathan and his wife Alyssa were going on a camping trip. This was their second anniversary. Had a blowout. His front left tire blew. So he managed to get all the way over to the right and got the tire changed. And as he was loading the tire in the back of the camper, he asked his wife Alyssa to please watch the traffic, don't watch me. And this girl was driving recklessly, changing lanes. When there was a lot of traffic, 3:45 in the afternoon, and she lost control as she was trying to get around the slower moving traffic, slid sideways, clipping the right rear end of Nathan's camper and truck. As Nathan was trying to dive into the ditch away from traffic, that's exactly where she went. And she broadsided him, going 85 miles an hour. The girl that hit him was texting two people, her mother, one of them.
Yeah, my understanding is that she was 100% distracted. She had no regard for anybody else but herself in that moment.
Nathan was killed instantly from the impact. But to lose a child is something that you never get over. The grief is with you all the time.
Your life stops. And you're a part of a club that no one ever wants to be a part of, and we don't want you to be a part of that club. That's why we're doing what we're doing today. Nathan would be doing this for us if we had been killed by a distracted driver. I can guarantee it. When you take a step into the car, you put your phone in the back seat and you leave it alone. You don't do your makeup. You don't do anything. You're focused on driving so that you can stay alive and you can keep people that you don't even know alive around you. We want your kids to grow up and have the lives that they're meant to have. And that's one way you do it. You be responsible, and you don't be distracted, and you take one step at a time. Put one foot in front of the other.
Be responsible for all your actions.
Yeah. Because we know what happens when you don't.
Yeah.
In his memory, in his name, things have to change.
The Richesons are standing with the Maria Tiberi Foundation, a campaign to end distracted driving started by Columbus News anchor Dom Tiberi. Dom lost his daughter Maria to a car crash in 2013 caused by an unknown distraction. The foundation raises money to purchase distracted driving simulators for police departments and school districts throughout Ohio. Current Ohio law bans all cell phone use for novice drivers as a primary offense and texting for all drivers as a secondary offense. Legislators are working to strengthen penalties for distracted driving. Highway patrol troopers will continue to enforce Ohio law and crack down on distracted driving. They encourage all motorists to put down their cell phones and all other distractions and to tell loved ones to do the same. From July 18 through the 21st, 2016, the City of Cleveland hosted the Republican National Convention. With large event security having changed significantly in the wake of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, law enforcement faced an incredible set of challenges, ranging from world terrorism, mass shootings of law enforcement officers, and strained community police relations across the country. There were predictions of chaos and violence in Cleveland amongst an already contentious political climate. Even with all that as the backdrop, leaders shared a quiet optimism.
When we pull this off, it's going to be an amazing story.
On July 7th, just days before the Republican National Convention, or RNC, a lone gunman in Dallas killed 5 police officers. In a separate incident, a gunman in Baton Rouge killed 3 law enforcement officers on July 17th. Community police relations nationally were strained, as the nation had also just watched 2 officer-involved shootings play out on social media in Minneapolis and Baton Rouge. On top of that, terrorism events in France, Belgium, and Turkey led to nervousness for security officials heading into the RNC.
I don't think it would be an overstatement to say that this was an unprecedented time for a national political convention and a obviously unprecedented time in the United States. On top of both what was going on in the world, and particularly with the political convention approaching, were the events affecting both community and law enforcement across the country.
For 2 years, federal, state, and local security experts engaged in comprehensive planning and event preparations for the RNC. 3 months before the event, nearly 600 previously committed out-of-state law enforcement officers suddenly backed out.
It was very unique. We have an ongoing partnership with the State Patrol for different events, special events, and we've used them to assist us in some of our urban initiatives around the city. But something that this large scale was unprecedented, and it really worked out well.
In large scale events like this, they're there if we need them. And, you know, they're our friends, they're law enforcement, they're police officers, they're cops, they're troopers, basically. And but even more than that, you know, over the course of time, we've developed friendships with these folks, and I think that has gone a long way in regards to just the level of collaboration.
The Multi-Law Enforcement Coalition assembled for the RNC was unprecedented in Ohio and something never before seen at any previous national convention.
It's the first time that emac has been utilized for an NSSE, and that we had time to plan, prepare, and get teams in and in place versus having to always act in a reactionary mode.
Major Michael Black had the massive responsibility of developing a blended plan for 2,100 law enforcement officers from Ohio, 18 states, and municipal officers from Columbus, Ohio, Louisville, Kentucky, and Austin, Texas. The plan included making assignments, drawing up schedules, and obtaining resources.
As things grew, and now we're having 18 state agencies coming in to support this mission, Chief Tamba basically told me, you know, you take care of the state agencies and we'll take care of all the other municipalities and locals and other ones that were other agencies that were coming from across the country.
For the Ohio troopers, one of the most important missions was security around the perimeter of the venue. The main RNC venue in downtown Cleveland was the Quicken Loans Arena, where just weeks earlier the Cleveland Cavaliers had celebrated an NBA championship. Approximately 50,000 visitors and an international media contingent were expected in the Northeast Ohio area. Patrol investigators and executive protection staff were responsible for dignitary protection and the venue security, which included the perimeter of the main venue. The special response team served as a quick reactionary force inside the perimeter security between the fence and the venue. And on top of all that, Ohio Investigative Unit agents worked the bars and teamed up with Cleveland officers and U.S. Secret Service personnel on counter-surveillance teams.
The staging areas for the mobile field force, being able to deploy them out immediately and get them out in front of a situation rather than falling behind a situation after it's already gotten out of control, that was paramount.
Law enforcement leaders knew if they could gain public support early in the operation, then the community would be a terrific asset in helping maintain order throughout the week. They wanted the officers to be seen everywhere and for the community to view them as a nice addition to the city.
Chief Williams wanted officers out there in the uniform of the day. He wanted them out there being professional, greeting and talking with the public.
Behind the scenes, Ohio Homeland Security and Ohio EMA were involved with key components in support of the officers on the streets.
I'm most proud of the collaboration, the communication, and the coordination that occurred.
Cleveland's public square became a gathering place for large groups of protesters. At its peak, approximately 1,000 people gathered in the downtown open area.
I think that the law enforcement from across the country came there prepared and, I guess in a way not really knowing what to expect, but when they got there, who they really are came out.
The RNC was historically significant in another way. Nearly 500 Ohio State Highway Patrol troopers, the largest commitment of resources to a single event in the patrol's 82-year history, were assigned to the detail.
Having that many officers in one spot, it was something to see. And the way that our troopers performed up there alongside with all the other officers, it was an honor to be up there working that detail with not just the Ohio State Highway Patrol, the Cleveland Division of Police, and all the agencies that went there, and the way that they represented law enforcement was something special.
In the end, the RNC was the safest political convention in United States history. No gas was used, no broken glass. Instead of helmets and shields, law enforcement stories from the week include a Louisville officer who stopped to break dance with some teens, an Indiana State Police trooper who got in on a ping pong game, and a California State trooper who joined a peace activist who was giving away free hugs.
At this moment and at that moment in time, I couldn't have been more proud of the men and women of the Division of Police and the men and women of law enforcement throughout the country.
For me, the one thing that I will remember out of all of this is not only that there was public support, but that gap that we talk about, sometimes in what I would say in very vague terms, a gap between community and police and what's that look like. We actually saw not only the gap disappear, but the difference between the community and police, there wasn't a difference. It was the same people. It was people from all over the country who felt like that they were one with the people that were helping protect that event.